We made season 1 of Repurposed strictly to change the damn narrative of our industry. We have such a lousy image, and I'm tired of people calling us junk. I'm sick and tired of people calling us waste. So season 1 was born out of my frustration with the image of our industry, and let's bring the truth to the American people and around the world how new steel is made. And without recycled materials facilities across America and across this world, we don't have new steel. And without new steel, we don't have the products we need to live in our daily lives. From hospitals to schools to airports to roads. You name it, if it's made from steel, most likely here in America, it's coming from recycled iron. And my frustration really boiled over and said, hey, we got to do something about this. This is why we did season 1 of Repurposed. Well, the first thing to do is to find a steel mill that was willing to work with me and working with our team, because we weren't Discovery Channel, we weren't Netflix, we were nothing. And when SSAB said, yes, they will do this, I mean, it was incredible excitement that day that it happened, because I knew then and there this was going to become a reality. Repurpose was going to become a reality. And the excitement of season 1 and filming at SSAB Steel Mill, today when I think back at it, is still one of the most incredible experiences of my life. You know, the recycled materials industry is really built on relationships. There are relationships I have and that everybody in this industry has across America. And when I reached out to Jay Rabinowitz and told him what I was trying to do, he was excited about the thought. Really? A docuseries about what we do as an industry? And he says, I'll get right back to you.
And that's part of why I took part in this process, in this story, because it is essential. And the steel manufacturing industry has been essential for decades.
I'm thinking, okay, get right back to me. Jay's the president, CEO of Alter Trading at the time. And I'm thinking, okay, he might call me in about a month. He called me 2 hours later and says, SSAB, they're willing to do this.
The moment that obviously stands out that I think represents season 1 is you standing there looking at the flying saucer. You're awestruck, your jaw is literally, it's open and you're looking at it. What does it mean to you now to have captured that?
When they opened up the lid of the furnace, and it came open this glowing red and orange. And the heat that was coming off. The opening of the lid will always be cemented in my mind as that moment of one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
Season 1 really didn't put an end to sort of scratching this itch. It almost made it worse. What started happening for you now as we start this next journey?
Well, when we finished season 1, and you start debriefing of all the greatness that it was. You realize you didn't even scratch the surface of this industry and really what it means. I don't want to say we didn't know what we were doing, but we had our first shot at it. And when you finish that, the experience, the learning experience of it all just made me yearn. We have to do season 2. I mean, there was like, no, I'm not stopping here. Season 1 was really a beginning. It sets up the real storytelling because season 2 is the story of the output of recycled iron, the new steel, and what it's going to in our daily lives, and actually getting out there and touching and feeling those things that are being made because of recycled iron. So season 2 is just the extension of excitement that season 1 ended with. And what you realize you didn't finish, the storytelling you didn't finish. There was so much more to tell. Season 2 is really getting deeper into the industry and to the products we use in our daily lives. That's why season 2 had to be done, because we were incomplete at the end of season 1.
So were you just showing off, or did you just decide to start with the biggest possible thing you could go look at, which was a ship?
So the recycled material industry is dealing with end-of-life metals, okay? And so there's so many obsolete types of metals that go into the recycled materials industry. But the journey in season 2 gets to some of the biggest end-of-life stories there is. Ships, naval ships, cargo ships. What happens to them at the end of their life? So we went down to SA Recycling in Brownsville, Texas, to witness firsthand ship recycling.
I'm Terry Adams. I'm a member of the board of directors of SA Recycling. We're sitting here on what's left of the Empire State ship. This was a 9,500 ton vessel that came in here, and we go through this process of recycling this ship. We're going to recycle about 95% of this material.
And the incredible nature of it, I mean, you're seeing these 18,000 ton ships being disassembled, dismantled, and that material is part of the material that goes to the steel mills that makes the new steel, that makes the rebar that goes into our infrastructure. And when you see it firsthand and you touch it and you feel it, you realize, wait a minute, there's a whole nother level of recycling. This is the input. This is taking this ship apart is what goes into mills. It goes into the foundries, aluminum, copper, brass, what have you. But it's a real testament of the ingenuity, but the investment, the technology that has to go in here. This isn't just dumb labor. There's a lot of technology that has to go into taking one of these things apart.
Absolutely. So you're talking about 28 million pounds on this particular project when we've got 3 or 4 going on at any given point. I'm Mark Hodgson, the general manager for SA Brownsville's ship recycling facility. Likewise, think about the job creation that it's doing here for us. We buy ships from all over the United States and we transport them here to our location to make sure that they are safely and environmentally remediated, abated, and processed to final scrap material.
Most people had no idea this is happening here in this country. Yeah, so in season 1, George Adams of SA, president of SA, we're in his facility in Bakersfield, California.
And the thing is that nobody does more to reduce CO2 in the planet than a recycler.
And you hear him talking how adamant he is that nobody does more for the environment for reducing CO2 emissions and reducing energy consumption than the recycled materials industry. Nobody.
Because by recycling those metals, you're not having to use virgin metals, which the carbon footprint is so much smaller, okay, of what you're doing. So if you don't recycle those metals, if you don't put them back into commerce, now you're digging virgin metals, which produces so much CO2 in the process. So I don't care what industry you look at, there is not an industry out there that does more for reducing CO2 on the planet than recycling. There's hands down. And there's nobody that could point to it and they could say, oh, we do for more. It's impossible.
The recovery rate of a vessel, you stated earlier, is between 95, 96% completely recycled. That's an incredible recovery rate. Tell us about all the things besides the steel. What are the things that are involved in getting that rate high?
So when these ships come in, you have to look at them almost like a floating city. Could have 100, 200 sailors. The Navy ships could have thousands of berths and kitchen facilities and linens and cutlery, plates, bedding. I mean, you name it. All of these things we're going to recover. The metals are easy. The steel, the stainless steels, the insulated wires. I mean, all that stuff is going to be recovered and well within the normal recycling channels for end-of-life management of the recycled metals. But it's all the other components, the non-metallic components that typically would end up going to a landfill. But here, we work to find homes for this material. We don't want any of this stuff to go to waste.
Without the recycled materials industry, first, you don't build a ship like this. And then, of course, without the recycled materials industry, you don't recycle a ship like this.
Any ship that comes in here, 95 to 96% of that ship will be recycled.
That's correct. We make sure to go through and capture any of the recyclable material, be it ferrous, non-ferrous, or what we consider reusable material, down to the chairs we're sitting in today for this interview. All of it we deem as recyclable or reusable, and we try to avoid sending material that is not hazardous to the landfill. So we've cut off the forecastle, we've cut off the bow. We're now into cargoes 1 and 2. We've opened up the port and starboard ballast tanks and fuel tanks, and we're in the cutting process to lighten it up. And once it's light enough, then we can take it and pull it into our dismantling slip for final recycling.
And to see what they're doing for the environment and to the safety of their employees, and what they're doing to take incredibly valuable material and putting it in the supply chain to feed the steel mills. I mean, this is a company, SA is huge. They're over 130 something facilities, and growing. But their commitment to every aspect of steel recycling is incredible. And that ship recycling facility there in Brownsville is something we all should be proud of, because that is the way to do it. It's being done right. And Terry is very proud of that facility. Terry is very proud of the job SA does, and SA as a company, what SA does for the environment, for the safety, and for the infrastructure of this country. You feel that sense of pride, and it's just out there.
As a whole, the history of ship recycling does have a negative connotation. and it's really up to us to redefine what that is, to deliver to our clients, be it the U.S. government or private ship owners, at a high level, to be able to really focus in on the safety practices and standards that we have here, our environmental remediation policies and procedures. We essentially set the gold standard for what the rest of the industry should be looking at on recycling a ship.
You know, when it comes to ship recycling, they call it ship breaking in other parts of the world. There are just environmental nightmares.
The ship breaking operations around the world, and primarily in Southeast Asia, you know, are environmental disasters, they're human disasters, no regard to, again, human life or the environment.
These countries that have allowed shipbreaking with no environmental concern whatsoever, the pollution from the lead, the asbestos, and other types of oils and different fluids that are toxic to our environment have been for decades spilled all over the land on the beaches that get into our oceans, that have polluted our oceans. And the lack of safety, people disassembling ships and flip-flops and t-shirts, using torches with no eye protection, no hard hat, no safety gear whatsoever.
And here in the United States, obviously we operate under, you know, a different set of rules and regulations, and things have to be done right.
And then you see it in America firsthand in Brownsville, Texas, at the SA recycling facility there. And you see the environmental stewardship, how they care for every bit of the land, the water.
Every environmental, you know, rule, you know, that the EPA, Department of Defense, Maritime, all the different agencies that look at what we do here that require U.S. ships to be recycled under U.S. regulations, and that's what this facility is set up to do.
That's paramount to the success of ship recycling in America. And the environmental stewardship, nothing like it anywhere in the world.
And SA Recycling, you know, is proud to be a part of that solution.
And that's why, in my opinion, ship recycling should be more here in America, because nobody does it more environmentally friendly. What they do to save the environment for ship recycling should be applauded.
And it's really up to us to redefine what that is.
Words matter. The language that we use to describe things makes a big difference in how it's perceived. The way that we talk shapes the way that people think. Our business is built around this idea that it's not what you say that matters, it's what your audience hears.
Sustainability in the recycled materials industry is underrated.
Every time you ask people what they think of when they think about recycling, they say the same thing. They say the blue bin.
People like to call our industry junk or call it waste. Why do people have a misconception, and what needs to change? What do they need to know about what this industry is doing and what it does to impact their daily lives?
And if you think about the way that organizations communicate, very often they build a message based on what they think sounds good.
People don't see the value of the metals, you know, here.
So it is focused on all the stuff that doesn't actually get recycled. It is not focused on the stuff that does.
They don't make the connection because they don't see it in the usable form or the form that we're going to send it to the steel mill. When we turn the majority of this ship into furnace-ready products, they're going to go straight to a steel mill to be melted back down, back to an electric arc furnace where they're going to melt it back down to make new steel, and that can be used into an equivalent operation like shipbuilding.
Where we're going right now?
We're on our way to Commercial Metals headquarters here in Dallas, Texas. And today is the day of interviews with the top brass.
You know, it just sort of
Factoring.
right.
In the U.S.?
You want me here?
You know what? I don't like that. I'm gonna say that. Right? Yeah.
And if you ask most people what it is we do, they're not going to have any idea truly what it takes to recycle ships, to recycle automobiles, to recycle industrial residuals. People don't know. Most people on the streets have no idea what it is we do.
Just click on play whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay.
There we go.
All right.
So I think it's kind of like an American myth because most of us assume that the recycling just goes in the garbage because we don't sort it well enough.
Paper?
Plastic. Paper.
It's got to be those plastic bottles.
Well, the paper.
Or plastic, I guess.
Plastic?
The most recycled,
That's exactly what we were talking about.
I think plastic.
Gatorade bottles.
I would say anything plastic. Plastic is very versatile.
I'd call it trash. Or like a trash heap.
Human waste. Just trash. A landfill.
A garbage dump.
Scrapyard.
Infection.
Just dump.
Billions.
Maybe like $1,000.
Well, when you stop and think about infection, and you stop and think of hazard, and you stop and think of waste,
Maybe $1,000.
In scrap metal, I'd say like at least 10,000.
700,000 about. All the stuff that seeps into the earth and then into the water, and then all the stuff you have to do to. So, yeah.
Probably worth thousands, tens of thousands.
Definitely over 1,000.
24 million? I don't know. Probably not very much because by the time it's sorted and processed, you've already spent what you would get for it. So I think typically recycling things like that, you end up in the negative.
Recycle steel?
No.
A steel mill? No, I can't say I do.
No.
Where they fabricate the steel?
I've heard of it, but I can't say I know exactly what it is. 5 to 10.
5 to 10.
Probably 93.
Well, it might be easier to do, so maybe 75%.
30%.
I'm guessing like 10.
Steel? That can be melted. That should be recyclable. I don't know.
I mean, there you go. So,
How does that make you feel?
I would say two things, John. First of all, I'm not surprised. Second of all, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed from the perspective that we haven't done a good enough job as an industry. Whether it's metals recycling, steel manufacturing, we have not done a good enough job of educating people. And you heard in that, people are much more educated about plastic and about paper. And that's what people think about from a recycling standpoint. That's their go-to. We have to change that perception. I mean, it's clear steel recycling is the most recycled product that there is. And what comes out of that is where we need to tell our story better. So I'm disappointed, I'm not surprised.
Well, Repurposed is changing that narrative.
Next episode of Repurposed.
When you start to look around, as you point out in Repurposed, when you start to look around and say, go live a day without recycled materials, it's a powerful idea to think about. I think every industry, to some extent, has the same refrain. We don't get credit for all the good stuff we do. They don't understand us. They don't appreciate how important we are. And the answer to that is often, well, let's just educate. But people don't want to be educated.